Yeah, when we... So, yeah, so he turns down off it. Green Lantern says he'll regret it, Hero, and tells him this thing about Hero, blah, 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 in his own maniacally old way. And I don't know, and I gotta talk about the Green Goblin costume. Green Goblin looks not even like shit for movie standards, for blockbuster standards, but he looks shit for a comic book portrayal look of Green Goblin. And he also looks like shit for what the story is about, and because in the story he's supposed to be like a very rich, wealthy man that can get all this cool stuff, and he chooses this for his outfit, for his supervillain outfit. He chooses this. I'm not going to act like the comic book source material wasn't silly or perfect, but you choose that outfit that looks more silly than a Power Rangers outfit. At least Power Rangers outfit looks stylish. Look, they wear with confidence and style. He doesn't wear it with any confidence or style. He just looks like a fucking clown. And he plays the fucking clown because he's taking this role way too seriously. He takes it even more seriously than Maguire does. It is absolutely awful. Because in case you don't know, the best portrayal I think we have of the Green Goblin was from the Spectacular Spider-Man. Because here's the thing. Not only that Green Goblin could be intimidating and mysterious, but he was also funny. I know a lot of people might like him in the 90s show, and yeah, I like him not compared to this, but on a standalone thing, not right. Because that 90s Spider-Man is my least favorite Spider-Man show I have ever seen for a cartoon. It's just like, because sometimes I feel like the stories feel like heavily edited individual stories, except for the first episode. It's like as series goes on, the stories feel more heavily edited and feel more sloppily edited. Not to a point, not like nothing like this, but not good editing. When I say nothing like this, I mean nothing like this 2002 movie called Spider-Man. So, and and I will say it at least tries to tell a story that 90s show, unlike whatever this movie's doing. Spider-Man called Spider-Man from 2002, but I'm talking way too much. Basically what I'm trying to say is that Goblin the Goblin also in the comic is supposed to have like a, sort of like a Joker's sense of humor, like kind of dark and twisted but also lighthearted, but what was a slightly a lighthearted tone when he tells the joke. So you can find it funny. But what I'm trying to say is that this joke, this Green Goblin from 2002 and 90s one from the cartoon, neither of them have a sense of humor in their body, is what I'm trying to say. So, yeah, and now I'm going to tell what his design is supposed to be like in the comics. He's supposed to look like a goblin. A Green Goblin. Literally, he's supposed to look like a Green Goblin. That's what his design is in the costume. He looks like a Green Goblin. With purple tights. And a purple, with purple tights and throws pumpkin bombs. That's the one thing they got right. Okay, I'm just going to say the glider and the pumpkin bombs are the only thing that looks good on Green Goblin's design. Everything, this looks shit. Looks nothing like the comics, and it doesn't look good for a big screen. Looks like it should belong on the big screen for a blockbuster. It just looks like in cosplayers. I've seen the Green Goblin Halloween costume to this movie. You know, that children's career. That looks more convincing than the real thing on the big screen from 2002 Spider-Man from this movie. That's how bad it is. It doesn't even look like something about it doesn't look right. It doesn't even look like a costume. It just looks like, well, it looks like garbage. It looks like actual garbage. So, yeah, not talking about that. So, Spider-Man, the public is hating him because Big Daniel Jameson, who Peter Parker works for, is supposedly on bad newspapers about saying messages about Spider-Man, and it's getting to him, wearing him down, blah, blah, blah. One day on Thanksgiving, Harry leaves with his dad, Norman, going to the elevator and goes back in. And before Harry comes back in, he calls Mary Jane a filthy whore and a gold digger. Wow, basically. He basically says that she's just in here for money and that no one man can hold to that person down. Which basically that's a slut. You called her a slut, you asshole. Look, I know she's a slut in the continuity, but you know, when the movie's telling you is that she's a slut and that she'll cheat on more than that she won't settle for one person, you know that it's almost like the writers don't care about Mary Jane, you know? So, yeah, and Mary Jane is not really a character at all. She's just a trophy for Peter Parker and a trophy for Harry Osborn. And he leaves, Harry Osborn's father leaves because he's the Green Goblin, and he finds out that Peter and Parker and Spider-Man are the same person after seeing a cut, it looks identical cut. It's literally identical cut to what the Green Goblin gave to Spider-Man from the pumpkin bombs. So he decides to scare Aunt May and give her a heart attack, and she thinks that he's a demon. Yes, clearly that's a demon. The most lighthearted, cutest demon you could ever imagine. And the funniest looking one. Scully, since what demon looks like it's made out with a plastic helmet? I'm sorry, but what demon is supposed to wear a plastic helmet wears some sort of green suit that a 5-year-old would make up? Was designed for art style. If it was done, let's say a 5-year-old was making blueprints. This is basically what this thing would child would wear, and it just looks stupid. She just thinks she's a demon. It gets better. Green Goblin demands that she finish the fray, and she does, and then she ends up at the hospital. And she's talking nonsense and says, but Peter knows who she's talking about when she mentions the horrible yellow. Those eyes, those horrible yellow eyes. I mean, she's acting like a cuckoo person. A really unstable elderly person. You sure she's just not going nuts, Peter? Because she is old. I'm just saying, she could be suffering from some sort of mental illness, or because she could have just had a nightmare, or a night terror, I don't know, you know? But for some reason, he instantly knows, and he instantly knows what this means. He knows that who Peter and Parker that knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and he talks to Aunt May. After talking to Mary Jane and flirting with her, Harry walking in on the conversation, then blah blah. It gets convoluted. I know it's convoluted. It's very confusing and convoluted, as in cluttered. Spider-Man films always cluttered films until Tom Holland's came along. I don't know what to tell you. If you want something coherent story, and doesn't feel like it's cluttered, too much going on, then you're just going to have to settle for Tom Holland's 2 Spider-Man films. I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry. Try to make this as brief as possible without dragging it on. So, what can I say? I did my best. So, he has idea. Mary Jane's first Peter, and then Peter. Then Aunt May wakes up and says she knows how much he's in love with Mary Jane, and he says everyone else knows. And then he figures the Goblin knows. When she said everyone else, she didn't mean literally everyone else in the world, Peter. She meant everyone else that you know and love knows you love Mary Jane and have a crush on her, a huge crush on her. But no, so he calls Mary Jane and tells specifically, don't go and stay at home and don't go in any dark alleys. And then turns out he's talking to the Green Goblin, and he says, and the Green Goblin says this line, hey, does Spider-Man want to come out and play? He's just like a total pedophile. Like, he says, you know what pedophile is? It's someone who has sex with children, basically. And who rapes them. That's how he says it. He says like a total pedophile. And that's how the Green Goblin talks in that. A pedophile. And it's Jesus. So she's on the Golden Gate Bridge, and so was the children being held hostage, and along with a bus of children. And Spider-Man meets Green Goblin Golden Gate Bridge, saying he has to choose who he wants to save. So, of course, Spider-Man tries to save both and succeeds without any struggles. Because we don't want to see a hero struggle, right? We don't see a main protagonist struggle, or looks like he won't be able to do it. But no, it does, and it tries to make you think that that's not going to work. But you see, I think we have the whole thing shot in slow motion instead of shot in regular times. People want to know that something's up. And he catches both of them on the nick of time. Tells MJ to go climb down the bus while the Green Goblin is attacking him, and while he's holding on to the wire and holding on to the bus wire that's connected to the bus. He saves both the people while the boat people lift the bus. And the people of New York stick up for Spider-Man, telling him to leave him alone, while having a food fight at the Green Goblin, throwing food at him. Food fight! And Green Goblin's losing. And instead of throwing his stupid pumpkin bombs at the civilians, he just takes like a little pussy, like, my one weakness, food! My one weakness, New York food! It's killing me! I look like I'm dying! I'm melting my world! Get that reference from this Wizard of Oz reference from the Wicked Witch of the West. And so Green Goblin finally gets the job once, knocks him into an abandoned building, and his car starts coming apart. and he gets the shit beat out of him, blah blah blah. Then he makes Spider-Man pissed, saying he will rape Mary Jane. The Goblin says that. Oh, he doesn't say exactly, but you know that's what he's talking about. He says, once I kill you, me and Jerry are going to have a hell of a time. He says, I'm going to enjoy it nice and slowly. He says. Then MJ gets pissed. I mean, I get, but I goes off Peter beats with MJ. Spider gets pissed, kicks the shit out of the Green Goblin, which brings out Norman's Norman half. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, Norman's suffering from a split personality disorder since he injected himself with this green gooey stuff that looks like colored water. Food coloring water. Green stuff. And that's how he became the Green Goblin. And since then, he has suffered from blackouts and a split personality disorder. And the Green Goblin's the evil personality. And turns out it's not really good Norman Osborn talking to Peter asking for help. It's really the Green Goblin pretending to be Norman Osborn personality asking for help. Well, he tries to get the drop on Peter, and Peter does a flip, and the glide, instead of stabbing Peter, it stabs Norman's body, and that's when Norman's personality comes up and says, "Don't tell Harry," he says, which is his son. So, like, instead of Spider-Man coming, so for Dead Man's Witch that killed a lot of people, but was also a father figure in this movie, he decides to fulfill that wish by not telling Harry. And also, before the Glide attacks Norman, and before Spider-Man's spider sense goes off, before he notices it, Spider sense is basically his instinct. It's kind of like a radar that detects danger before it happens, so he can dodge it. But it doesn't explain what that is. He doesn't call it his spider sense. The only one who calls it the spider sense is us, the fans. He doesn't call his organic web shooters, except us, the fans. He doesn't call his costume a costume except for us, the fans. And the movie doesn't explain how the whole spider sense things work, or how he came up with the name. He never calls it the spider sense when he's in no danger, or it's not explained how it's worked. They only developed that part of it, or any of his. And the only one that they develop is his wall crawling and his athletic skills and his web shooter skills, but not the only. Those were the only two they explored. They never really explored the spider sense part, which is a very pointing ability he has, actually. But let's not explore it. Let's just do quick cuts and let's just cut out. It's almost like they edit all the story, the important stuff out of the story, all the dumb stuff out of that doesn't even be on the story, left it in there. Just because they needed a runtime to call this a movie. At least because they need me an hour to call this a movie, so it's like they were lazy, you know? It felt like. Anyway, so Spider-Man, he says when he's pleading, when Norman is asking for help, saying he's been a father to him, he accepts who was his real father, Uncle Ben, by saying, "I had a father once. His name was Ben Parker." That's the thing I like, because he finally accepts that Uncle Ben was his father figure. Was the closest thing he had to a father. Because this is the one thing I felt like it was only the thing he did right, because it wasn't only out of nowhere, because for the film he has trouble, he feels guilty on Ben died. He never accepted him as a father figure, unlike the comics before he died. He never accepted him as a father figure before he died or after he died until the third act, unlike the comics where he always accepted him like a father in the comics and every pretty much Spider-Man issue I've read know about. So yeah, anyway, he Norman's now 6 feet on the ground. Everyone's Harry, MJ, who is Mary Jane, Peter Parker, and his civilian clothes all paid their respects, and to say goodbye to Norman. Harry vows vengeance on Spider-Man. He says to Peter Parker, and Peter suddenly gets the girl of his dreams, MJ, Mary Jane, and she says this so much to herself, "I love you so much, Peter. When I was cleaning for my life on the Golden Bridge, all I could think about, I want to see Peter Parker's face one last time because I love him, but she's the only one that makes me feel like me, and that's okay." And he shuts the bitch down because he has to protect her for her safety, because he is, as in his word, "It's my gift, my curve. Who am I? I'm Batman. I mean Spider-Man." He starts monologuing like a psycho, like Batman does. And he swings off through Manhattan and roll cracks. And that was the first Spider-Man film. What a load of shit that was. I found it. Spider-Man's character arc is unnoticeable. The story is fucking all over the place. Spider-Man's personality barely comes into the film. Instead of showing his personality, they decide to hint it at it because we think that we're pussies and we'll eat up the shit. Well, guess what? We are pussies. We didn't eat up this shit. You guys did. I didn't, because I always ate since day one. So I'm not the reason to blame, so so I'm giving this a 2 out of 10. Which is another word for almost the bottom of the bat, almost like, which is a low point of shit. See, if you're at least a 2 out of 10, then that means you're this bad. If you're a 3 out of 10, then that means you're kind of bad, or 4 out of 10, that means you're kind of bad, but this is the barrel of just bad. There's nothing, I enjoy, I'm just glad I did enjoy the credits, the end credits, that's the one thing I enjoy, because I love the soundtrack, and I own the soundtrack, then I say the soundtrack's worth getting, give that soundtrack on its own a 10 out of 10. Listen to it several times. Forget about this film. This can burn in hell along with Hitler and along with Donald Trump. For all I care. Bye.